U.S. forces striking Iran for the 10th consecutive night after President Trump vowed vengeance against the terror regime following the deaths of 4 American troops this past weekend. The president posting on Truth Social, quote, "Every time Iran kills an American soldier, they will pay for that killing many times over." Here's the president.
We feel very badly, but, you know, those great people, those great patriots are out there fighting that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. We hit them very hard again tonight, and we did that in honor of the probably 3. It's probably 3 as opposed to 2. Great patriots.
But some Democrats argue that airstrikes won't finish the job.
The Iranians, give them credit. They know about enriched uranium. They know about nuclear. They have sent great negotiators. But we're not going to, I do not believe anyone thinks that we're going to bomb Iran into submission.
All right. So, Dana, is it a mistake, a misconception that other countries like Iran, their leaders, hold the same value over human life that we do? So, like, they're fine. You can bomb us to hell and back, but they know that we aren't like that.
They'll kill their own people.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
They did. They killed 40,000 of them in January. So I think the response to killing Americans, it'll be clear that this is not business as usual. They gave them a chance with the memorandum of understanding that the Iranians balked at, and now you have a decisive striking back. I do believe it would be helpful to have a briefing from Secretary Hegseth and General Kane. They had, when there was kinetic action before, they had done these like once a week, and it was very members of Congress who are just going to try to make it about themselves. They have to go tomorrow for the budget, and then that way you could have the secretary. He might say, "I answered that this morning. Let's talk about the budget." However you would want to do it, but what that would also do is to provide the president an opportunity for us to hear from the Department of Defense, like how is this going to go, and to answer Mark Warner. I don't expect details, but when Mark Warner is out there saying that nobody expects that we're going to bomb them into submission. Okay, well, I don't know. I would love to hear, like, what is the strategy then?
Yeah.
Because the key is Strait of Hormuz. I believe that the nuclear weapon thing will be off the table. Like, they're not allowed to have a nuclear weapon. That's been clear. The international community agrees on that. The issue right now is the Strait of Hormuz and trying to get that open.
Yeah, you know, so Charlie, as a layperson, I keep hearing, like, whenever there's this kind of conflict, more targets are hit, more targets are hit. When is, like, how do you know when these targets are doing anything as just a normal person? It's like you keep hearing, oh, is this now going to make it better? Or what are we hitting?
Yeah, well, and of course, one of the things that's really alarming right now is that those strikes on Jordan were pretty advanced weapons. And we certainly felt like a lot of the strikes previously had taken out a lot of their missile capabilities. So that is definitely alarming. But whatever degree to which people, misjudge the Iranian leadership, I think the Iranian leadership definitely misread President Trump. No president would ever launch a war, especially one that's not particularly popular, in the middle of an election year, midterms. He's not on the ballot, but it's a midterm election. It's important to him that Republicans win. And then, of course, you wind up with the memo of understanding. And I think that a lot of the Iranian leaders also figured he wouldn't start bombing again because everybody was relieved that that was behind him and gas prices started coming down. They picked the wrong guy. And now they've killed 3 more, 2 that have been named: Private Isabella Gonzalez, 19, from Texas, and Lieutenant Tyler James Feehan, 25, from Hawaii. Patriots who lost their lives, and we are grateful for their service, and we pray for their families. The fact that Iran killed them is only going to make Trump madder. It's only, all you're doing is hitting the hornet's nest, and he is going to respond with greater ferocity to the point that they're going to have to come up with yet a new name of this operation.
Harold, what do you think the response might entail? I hate asking speculative questions like that, but...
So I joined with Charlie. My prayers and condolences to the Feehan family and the Gonzalez family. They represent, these are 19 and 25-year-old people. That's what our military is made up of, and certainly all of us pray for their families. Greg, I think your question begs an answer from, but before you have the answer, you have to have a strategy or an objective, and then you can develop a strategy as to what you do. We have gone from, remember, February 27th, the Straits of Hormuz were open. Our objective was to eliminate the... I think the terms of this battle have changed since February 28th. We no longer talk as much about the nuclear piece, and I hope that Dana's right that we will take this off the table. But the Iranians have taken control of the narrative because they have now shown what many presidents before feared, that if indeed we did attack the Iranians, that they would weaponize the Straits of Hormuz, which they have done. The Iranians have also suggested that the Houthis, another proxy of theirs, is going to begin controlling the Suez Canal, where you have another 10 to 15% of the world's commerce goes through there. So the answer, we have to figure out what it is we want. If we want the Straits of Hormuz open, then I think, our attacks, the continued military operation to try to affect the terms of negotiation, we have to do. Mark Warner is right. Bombing along may not work. We talked about this last week, and Jesse talked about it too. We all did. Do we have to put troops on the ground? I don't know how you reassert control to ensure that waters are navigable. I don't want to do this. This is not my preferred action, but when you have no allies going into this but the Israelis, and they are important allies, we're going to be the ones that have to put the troops on the ground if we want the Straits open. Why? Because it is clear to me, as much as the president and my friend Secretary Bessent may say, we do not, nor have we ever controlled the Straits of Hormuz. They do. Finally, Mr. President, you don't need to tell the world that if 2 Americans are killed and 1's missing, or 3 are killed and 1 is missing, that you're going to direct the Secretary of War and the Joint Chiefs of Staff to respond. That's your job. That's what we'd hope you'd be doing. And I've said on this show many times, please stop talking so much. There's no need to tell them everything we're doing, all that you're thinking.
Dana, I think a very important question, which is, do they value human life in the same way? Absolutely not. Like they are dealing with the afterlife. This is a theocracy, and we're never going to talk them into rational capitalism. That is the great mistake we've made in the Middle East for decades. Having said that, you started it, now you have to finish it. And how do you do that? Unfortunately, I agree with Harold. I think Mark Warner is right. I also think Mark Warner is an asshat.
Me too.
I think he's one of those people who hates Trump so much, he's rooting for the other side to be victorious just to stick it to Trump. And I don't want to hear anyone giving input who hates the president that much. That's so bad for the country. But I would like to hear from another Democrat. Fine. If you think this is a war of choice, if you think that the consequences here are so incredibly dire and set the Middle East up for disaster, then what would you do? If there is another way to do this, we're already halfway in. Do you get us halfway out? Do you go the full distance? Because, there aren't too many approaches. There aren't too many choices left available. Unfortunately, once you've started something like this, the way you finish it is with American ground troops. And, we're saddened and disgusted to hear about those newly minted Gold Star families. That is not what we want. But if we see a ground invasion, you're going to see a lot more than that. And you're going to have young people whose lives are destroyed. And, we're not going to be saying their names every day on TV. And it's not just politically costly. It's at some point it gets to be immoral.
The only other option is another deal. And the deal is probably, I hate to say this is not a political comment, but it may be worse than the deal Obama struck, because you're going to have to unfreeze all of that money if we don't want to put troops on the ground. Because guess who else knows we don't want to put troops on the ground? The Iranians. Yeah. So again, this is not what I want to have happen. But Mark Warner loves this country. And I understand just saying he may disagree with President Trump. I know him well. He believes that we ought to have an agreement, and I think we may.
Fox News, officially the Fox News Channel or FNC, is an American multinational conservative news and political commentary television channel and website based in New York City. It is owned by Fox News Media, a subsidiary of Fox Corporation. Key aspects of Fox News include programming and format. Launched on October 7, 1996, the network broadcasts 24 hours a day, combining traditional hard news reporting during daytime hours with heavy political commentary, analysis, and opinion programming during prime time, such as shows hosted by personalities like Sean Hannity and Jesse Waters. Audience and reach. It is one of the most watched cable news networks in the United States, reaching tens of millions of households. Political stance. The network is widely recognized for its conservative editorial stance, maintaining a strong alignment with the Republican Party and conservative causes. Platforms. Alongside its primary cable channel, Fox News operates digital platforms including link to foxnews.com, streaming services like Fox Nation, radio syndication, and mobile